What was billed as the largest evening in the historical past of girls boxing by some means exceeded the breathless hype that preceded it. Whenever Katie Taylor was proven on the Jumbotron in the hours leading up to the essential occasion on Saturday, the regular roar of the crowd jilted to ear-splitting volumes. It was similar for Amanda Serrano, solely barely louder. What happened that night? Let's talk a bit about the fighters. Serrano, the rugged Puerto Rican-born Brooklyn-raised 7-division world champion. Serrano didn't pick up boxing until she was 18. If Taylor, the Olympic gold medalist, was bred for this moment, Serrano had to claw her way there, through fights in small ballrooms and on untelevised undercards, mixing in MMA matches to pay the bills until a young YouTube star came along, with the goal of making Serrano a household name. In 2016, Taylor, her boxing career in shambles after an early exit from the Olympics, reached out to Animate about training her. She moved to Connecticut and, in the quiet of a nondescript gym without a single picture of Taylor on the walls, rebuilt her career. And on Saturday, with thousands of Irish fans roaring inside Madison Square Garden, she added a crowning achievement. "The best moment of my career," Taylor said. "For sure. Make no mistake, the outcome of this fight mattered." Taylor, 35, and Serrano, 33, had circled each other for years. They nearly fought in 2020, in the most challenging days of the pandemic, when Eddie Hearn was staging shows in his backyard. They were two of the most accomplished fighters in women's boxing, top 3 on Sports Illustrated's pound-for-pound list, and the win by Taylor not only cemented her place atop it, but enhanced her case to be called the greatest women's boxer of all time. Now, what happened in the fight? MSG has hosted boxing matches for more than a century. You won't find many atmospheres better than last Saturday night. More than 19,000 mostly paying customers churned through the gates. For every Irish fan, a Puerto Rican one. For every ole, 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 a yo soy boricua to drown it out. Women's boxers past and present filled the arena, from Christy Martin to Layla Ali, Claressa Shields to Sanisa Estrada. This wasn't a significant women's fight. This was a significant fight. In the ring, it was a classic. The biggest fight in women's boxing history before Saturday was between Christy Martin and Deidre Gogarty, who in 1996 earned a spot on the Mike Tyson-Frank Bruno undercard and made the most of it, waging a memorable 6-round war. Taylor has referenced that fight often, not just the significance of it, but the value of it being entertaining. If Martin Gogarty was at the bar, Taylor Serrano leaped over it. Taylor entered the fight the more accomplished boxer. Serrano, despite being the naturally smaller fighter, the bigger puncher. A quiet first 3 rounds eventually gave way to a slugfest. In the 5th, Serrano's pressure got to Taylor. She cornered Taylor, unleashing crushing combinations. For the final minute, Taylor stumbled on shaky legs. Taylor looked finished. Then, in the 7th round, she rallied. Taylor's movements picked up. Entering the fight, Taylor's legs were a concern. She had battled calf injuries in recent fights. Instead of sitting between rounds, for the first, Taylor stood, a trick Animate wanted to try to keep Taylor's legs from cramping up. In the 7th, she caught a second win. She matched Serrano's connect rate in the 7th. She outlanded her according to CompuBox in the 8th and in the 9th. In the final minute of the 10th round, Taylor and Serrano winged 142 punches, standing toe-to-toe right until the final bell. Well, let's now talk about one of the questions most of us ask ourselves. Will we see another? A rematch seems natural. Taylor and Serrano each made in excess of $1 million for this fight. While there is talent in the lower weight classes, there are no opponents for either that are more appealing. Hearn suggested bringing the rematch to Ireland. Taylor has never fought professionally in her home country. A showdown with Serrano at Croke Park in Dublin would draw more than 80,000 fans. Jake Paul, Serrano's promoter, said they were willing to go there. "We all want to see the best versus the best," Taylor said. "A rematch would be absolutely phenomenal." Indeed, Taylor Serrano exceeded all expectations. Taylor won, but Serrano didn't lose. And women's boxing, on the rise in recent years, is supercharged headed into the future. "People will be talking about what myself and Amanda Serrano did for years to come," Taylor said. "This was a history-making fight. The first women's headliner at MSG showed that you can bet there will be more. Beyond Taylor and Serrano, there are so many good fights to be made in women's boxing. Claressa Shields will face Savannah Marshall in the summer. Franchon Cruz-Dezurn became the undisputed 168-pound champion Saturday in a very entertaining fight. Sanisa Estrada is dominating the lower weight classes, and a rematch with Marlon Esparza is a potential headliner next year. Women's boxing is certainly on the rise. Let's move on to other boxing news. Let's talk about women's boxing top 7 pound-for-pound rankings. First, we have Katie Taylor. Taylor, 35, once one of boxing's most decorated amateurs, has enjoyed a meteoric rise since turning pro after the 2016 Olympics. She won a world title in her 7th fight, became a unified champion in her 9th, and needed just 14 fights to become the undisputed champion at 135 pounds. Taylor, who picked up a title at 140 pounds in 2019, is a significant draw both in the UK and stateside. Against Serrano, Taylor will attempt to pick up the biggest win of her career and make her case to be known as the greatest women's boxer of all time. Second is Claressa Shields. How dominant has Shields been since turning pro in 2016? The two-time Olympic gold medalist has claimed undisputed status in two weight divisions, 154 and 160 pounds, while collecting a pair of titles in a third, 168. 6 years after turning pro, Shields, 27, is barreling towards her biggest fight to date, a middleweight showdown against Savannah Marshall, the hard-hitting 160-pounder, and the lone woman to ever beat Shields in a boxing ring. Third, we have Amanda Serrano. Serrano's resume is impressive. She's a 7-division world champion who effortlessly bounces between the 115 to 140-pound weight classes. Consider, in 2018, Serrano beat Yamila Esther Reynoso to win a vacant title at junior welterweight. 4 months later, Serrano dropped down to super flyweight to knock out Eva Vorarlberger and claim another belt. Saturday's showdown with Katie Taylor will give Serrano, 33, the opportunity to knock off the women's #1 and elevate herself to the top spot in the process. In fourth place is Seniesa Estrada. Estrada's rise over the last 3 years has been remarkable. In 2019, Estrada defeated ex-US Olympian and arguably women's boxing's best 112-pounder, Marlene Esparza. Last March, Estrada dropped down to 105 pounds to defeat long-reigning title holder Anabel Ortiz. In July, she moved up to 108 pounds to take a second title off Tsunami Tenkai. Finally, in December, Estrada completed a 3-fight year by stopping Maria Micheo Santizo, successfully defending her 105-pound belt. Mixed in, Estrada recorded the fastest knockout in women's boxing history, a 7-second obliteration of Miranda Adkins. Estrada has been locked in a contract dispute with Golden Boy, but still hopes to fight 3 times in 22 and will be a sought-after free agent if they can't come to an agreement. Fifth, we have Jessica McCaskill. Entering 2020, McCaskill was a solid fighter, known for a pair of wins over ex-title holder Erica Farias and a competitive loss to Katie Taylor. A close win over longtime reigning welterweight champion Cecilia Brækhus earned McCaskill 4 147-pound belts, and a lopsided win in the rematch stamped her as one of the best in women's boxing. Big opportunities could be coming in 22, with McCaskill, 37, lined up to face the winner of a planned fight between unified junior welterweight title holders Chantel Cameron and Callie Reese, a showdown that would pit undisputed champions in 2 weight divisions against each other. In sixth place, we have Mikaela Mayer. Mayer, a 2016 U.S. Olympian, continues to build momentum. She won a vacant 130-pound title in 2020 and picked up another last year, defeating Maeva Hamadouche in a fight that headlined an ESPN show. Last month, Mayer defended her titles in a wide decision win over Han. Mayer hopes to unify the division this year. Alicia Baumgardner, who Mayer has sparred with on social media, and Hyun Mi Choi hold the other 2 belts before moving up, perhaps to face the Taylor Serrano winner. Finally, we give you Savannah Marshall. Marshall, 30, turned pro in 2017 with a significant name on her amateur resume, Claressa Shields, who Marshall outpointed in 2012 at the World Amateur Boxing Championships, the lone blemish on Shields' boxing record. Marshall has showcased crushing power as a pro, stopping 10 of her first 12 opponents. She won a middleweight title in 2020, stopping Hannah Rankin, and defended it with a crushing third-round knockout of Herman's earlier this month. Marshall and Shields, who have become bitter rivals, are penciled in to square off this summer in the UK. That's it for today's news of the women's boxing world. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button on your way out, and comment below what was the best moment in the Taylor vs. Serrano fight.